Hey all, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be giving a tour of my cacti and succulent collection. Instead of being outside and sweating to death, I've actually decided to bring in some of my most favorite cacti and succulents to talk about them indoors in groups that make sense to me. I'm going to be talking about my Astrophytum, my Euphorbia, my general succulents that I have. I have Aloes, Haworthias, seedlings, Adeniums, so many different things I want to show you and share with you. So I'm so excited about this video. We have a lot to go over, a lot of plants to look at, so let's get straight into it. I forgot to mention that I'm also going to be showing you some Pachypodiums, so wait for that as well. That's further along in the video. But first things first, I do want to say that while I am showing you these plants indoors, most of the time these plants live outside for about 9 months of the year. They only come inside once the freezes start happening. I actually think some of these Astrophytum would be fine outside permanently, but I just treat them as container plants. It also helps to deal with drainage issues because containers dry up a whole lot faster. Second of all, if you are growing cacti and succulents, you really want to put them outside if you can, or in a very, very bright window. It can be very difficult for them to grow properly without enough light, so they may need some supplemental light, or they may not ever flower if they're inside, for example. They do well with heat in periods of drought. You do need to water them intensely and then let them dry out. Because that's kind of how they operate. Those are kind of just general tips. Water them well, let them dry out, but it doesn't apply to every single plant, of course. There are exceptions to that. There are also some winter growers, so if you water them in the summer, they'll potentially rot, whereas they'll be needing moisture in the winter. There's also some plants that just don't follow any rules, and those are like lithops, for example, or the living stones. And you'll need to have like an entire video just on that. Second, I think it'd be really helpful to get on a level playing field with the terms like cacti and succulents. Cacti are actually from the family Cactaceae. They're native to the New World, so the Americas. Succulent is more of a morphological term. It refers to the structure of a plant rather than a specific group or family of plants. Succulent plants tend to have these what they call fleshy stems and fleshy leaves. You've seen them before, you know, we've all seen succulents, so they have those chubby kind of leaves. That's where they store their extra moisture so that they can access it during periods of drought. So with that in mind, cacti are actually, the body of them are fleshy stems, and the spines are modified leaves. So you can say that cacti are succulent plants, but not all succulents are cacti. So it goes one way. So with that said, here is the first group here. These are my Astrophytum. I love these plants so much. These are some of my most favorite plants, really. They're highly ornamental, highly graphic cacti. These are cacti from the Cactaceae family. I'm going to kind of go through each of them and just talk about them in general. This is a myriostigma. They sometimes call it a bishop's hat because it has the shape of it. They do come in variegated colors as well. So this is my prized Astrophytum myriostigma variegata. During periods of high sun, they will turn bright red. Also in the winter, they will also turn bright red. I love this plant so much. This is a Asterias supercabuto. This is a Japanese cultivar. It actually just flowered, and I crossed it with another Astrophytum, so it's already developing a fruit here, and then I'll have seeds. The thing you need to know about all these Astrophytum is that they grow very, very slowly. So if you are growing them and you don't see any progress, it's not necessarily because you're doing anything wrong, it's because they just grow so slow. So yeah, here we have a Astrophytum capricorni, and this is actually another Astrophytum capricorni as well. There will be different versions of these species. So this one has a lot more of the dotted pigmentation here. So this was probably crossed with one that had less of that pigmentation. Here's a Astrophytum ornatum, has some spines right here. Another myriostigma. Myriostigmas tend to be spineless, so that's kind of nice. Here is a Astrophytum myriostigma. This is Onzuka, the variety. Really beautiful pigmentation here, and it's kind of developing a little flower right here. Here is an Asterias. This one has a little bit of sunburn right here, but it will recover. So it was just facing this way against the sun for a little bit too much of the day, so I'm going to relocate it and turn it the other way. Here is another Capricorni in one of the pots I've made. This one's had really cool long spines. I love this one as well. This one blooms a lot. So I often cross this. I think actually I crossed these two, so that'll be interesting to see what they develop. Here is another, this looks like a myriostigma to me. It says hybrid, so it probably came from a couple different species. And I have this right here. You're probably thinking this is not an Astrophytum, and this is not. This is actually a Paraskeopsis, and this is really good at for grafting, especially for seedlings because of the stem is so small. I actually have a grafted Astrophytum right here at the bottom. One of the things you have to know about if you're grafting is that they do tend to bloat and do weird things like this. They can kind of look like a little mutant, but it has grown a whole lot faster. And if I chop the rest of it, this would probably grow faster too, but I'm kind of just growing it to see what it looks like. It's kind of interesting. But yeah, these are my Astrophytum. I love these a lot. I give them a very good watering in the summer every few days. In the winter, I don't give them any water and they're perfectly fine. So they're great plants, just very slow, but I do love them a lot, and you can find them in variegated colors for sure. So I'm gonna move on and show you a few Euphorbias. So here are a few Euphorbias I have in my collection. I wanted to show you the wide variety of forms that this genus can take. Euphorbia is this massive genus of plants, and they come in all sorts of different forms. One thing that really defines them is that they produce like a milky sap. It's called a latex if you cut them, and it's an actual irritant to humans. It can cause like temporary blindness or just like a rash. So you have to be careful when you're around these plants. So if you break any of these plants here, it will produce that white latex. So the first one I'm going to talk about is this Euphorbia tyracali. I think this is also called like sticks on fire is their common name. It is not a cactus. None of these are cacti. These are all just succulents, and they're from, like I said, Euphorbia. This is a very fun plant to grow. It branches quite rapidly, and you can make cuttings quite easily. Just remember that there is that latex that exists, so you'll have to use gloves if you want to propagate it. This is my Euphorbia millii. This is probably a better side. I love this plant as well. It's full of thorns, so you have to be careful. And like I said, it does have that latex. I just keep repeating myself. But it's a beautiful, striking plant, and it basically flowers year-round, with the exception of maybe like December and January. I love this plant a lot, and it produces cuttings so easily. I've had this for probably 6 years now, and I just keep chopping it and making little cuttings here and there. This is from the plant as well, so it produced this as a cutting. Very, very easy. Just chop, put it in soil, and it'll start rooting so quickly. Here's another that I have. Here is a Euphorbia pentagona or pentagona. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce that. Again, it looks like a cactus, but it is not a cactus. It does not come from the Cactaceae family. So this is just a Euphorbia, and it's a Euphorbia just like this one over here, which is a Euphorbia pachypodium. This is a fun one to grow. It develops really broad leaves right here, and it turns into like this little palm tree. I like this one a lot. These plants are all very easy to grow. Here I have at the bottom a cutting of my Euphorbia trigona. It does have cat hair like everything else in this house, but yeah, this is also another easy way to propagate this plant. I actually filmed a video where I chopped up my Euphorbia trigona, so I will put that together and show you the results of that. But this is one of the cuttings that I created off it. It's a fun genus. There's so many different options and so many in cultivation already, so you can't really go wrong. They're very forgiving. I've forgotten this Euphorbia millii. I've not given them water for like weeks before, and they bounce back the second you do give them water. And actually these are this is one that you could potentially grow indoors. It's that easy. So I'm gonna move on to we're gonna do aloes slash haworthias. So this group is a mix of haworthia, aloe, and gasteria. So they're kind of like related a little bit and you can cross them. So that's why I'm grouping them together. So this one over here is a aloe. I actually have it potted with some sansevieria right here that just flowered. But yeah, it's super fleshy. This is what we talk about when we say like it's a fleshy leaf. When you squeeze it, it does give, and there's clearly a lot of moisture in there. Here we have, let's see, where should I go? I'll do the aloes first. So here is a aloe hybrid, and it's called Wonderkind right here. Very beautiful pigmentation, some nice red on the edge right here. Tons of pups on it. I do need to kind of clean it up a bit. But all these plants I will recommend part shade because they can get easily burned. In fact, some of them can do well in a lot of shade. This is another aloe that I have. I don't know exactly what species it is, but they do produce babies readily. Here is one more aloe that I have. And I have a few more outside. I don't collect a ton of aloes, but these are just so cute. So I do enjoy when I see them. So I'm going to show you some haworthias. This is Haworthia that's very popular. This is, I think this is Haworthia attenuata. Really cool. I think they call it like a zebra Haworthia. Very nice pigmentation on it. This is totally ready to be divided a million times, but I just probably will never get to it. It does flower. You can kind of see the stems here that where flowers once were. Fun plant. I do give it some shade. It will burn. Here is, I think this is a Haworthia cooperi. This also flowers every summer or so. Very fleshy leaves. There's kind of window leaves is what they call them, where it's sort of clear and you can kind of see inside the leaves. It's really cool. I'll show some pictures of that. This is a unnamed plant. I did have the name of this plant, but I just misplaced it, or the tag got lost somewhere. So I think this is a Haworthia. If you've seen this plant before, be sure to chime in. But I think it's so beautiful. It's just this really nice rosette with nice spots on it, and it has kind of like little tiger teeth. I do give this a lot of shade because one year I did burn the heck out of it because I put it in the sun and it was just not ready for the sun, and also just doesn't like the sun. So I put this under a table actually outside. Here is one more Haworthia I want to show you. This is Haworthia Mucronata morrisii. These names are tough, but the plants are interesting. Here you can tell that this is a new season of growth right here. It's basically a new rosette that's forming right here, and then the old leaves are kind of shedding here and there. It's another beautiful window leaf, so you can kind of see inside leaves, and it's just really captivating when you do see it up close. Again, this will burn very easily, so you have to be careful of that. So this is kind of interesting to me, is that you can cross aloes and haworthias and you will get what is called an alworthia. So this is an alworthia black gem. I don't know if you can see it very well in the camera shot. This pot's heavy too. It's called black gem because if you give it enough sun, the leaves will turn nearly black. This propagates profusely. I had one single rosette, and this is what it's turned into. It's been about 5 years though, but it's pretty incredible how it grows. It just keeps dividing and dividing, dividing. And this is one more example of those hybrids. This is a gaster aloe. That's a cross between a gasteria plant and a aloe plant. And what you get is well, this is very thirsty right now. I think I need to water it. But it says gaster aloe / Ed Hummel. It's just another way that you can interact with these plants is by crossing different genuses that are relatively close in their biology. This does give you a idea of the varieties that these can take. Haworthias and aloes in general can do better in some shade, like I mentioned. So I think I'm going to show you my Pachypodiums next, and these are really interesting plants, and I'm excited to show you. Alright, so here I have my Pachypodiums here. I love these plants a lot, so I'm really excited to show you all. These are native to Madagascar. I primarily have them in full sun, and I do give them a good watering every few days, but that's only in the summer. In the winter, I actually don't water them at all. Maybe I'll water them once or twice for several months, and they'll be perfectly fine. You have to be very careful about these because they can rot very easily, but if you are careful about them, give them good drainage, they'll do quite well. Here I have my Pachypodium lomerii. It's sometimes called a Madagascar palm for obvious reasoning. It is not actually related to a palm, but it does look like one. If you plant it in the ground and you are in a temperate climate, it will grow quite large, and it can be several feet tall. But if it's in a container, it will restrict its size a little bit. But these are a lot of fun, really cool leaves here. And one thing you have to know about all Pachypodiums is that they're incredibly slow. So I would not be like staring at them or checking them every few days because you will not see a difference. Unfortunately, they grow very, very slow, so you have to be patient with these. Here I have a Pachypodium gracilis. I don't know too much about this one, but it kind of has almost a crested approach to it here. See how it kind of created that line of growth? It's a very beautiful one right here, has those characteristic stems, or has those characteristic thorns right here. Cute little leaves. It's a good one. I have right here a Pachypodium sundarsii. I love this one a lot because it's so sculptural. It has grown a little bit for me. I've had it for a few years. One thing about this plant is it has really interesting flowers, so I'll put up some pictures of what those look like because you really don't see this flowering that often, so at least where I am. You especially won't see them flowering if you keep them indoors, so they do need that heat that they would normally expect in Madagascar. You do have to be a little bit careful about making sure that the stems don't get too sunburned though, because there is very little protection for the fleshy stems. So just make sure you keep an eye on that and that they're being protected enough so that they don't receive some sort of burn on them, which can turn into rot. Here I have I believe this is another sundarsii that hasn't branched yet, or you can actually see it's starting to branch here and right here. So give it time, and I think eventually it will look closer to this. They have just such cute little leaves here, so I love just like looking at them because they're so interesting and sculptural in nature. So a lot of fun there. This little one right here is a Pachypodium eburneum. This is actually probably several years old, so like I mentioned, you really do need to be patient with these plants because they do grow very, very slow. It's very similar to another Pachypodium that I grew, Baetanical, I think is the name of it, but I did lose that one to rot because I probably watered it too much when it didn't need it. So just be very aware of that. But yeah, it's just a cute little thing, and I love it in this little pink pot that I have here because it's just full of thorns, and then it just has that soft little pastel color on the bottom. So this one right here, I believe it says it's Pachypodium rosulatum, just another variety. A lot of them look very similar, so you just have to try to find different characteristics that set them apart. Again, cute little leaves up top, and once you see the leaves, you know you can start watering. In the winter, they will actually lose all their leaves, so once they do that, just stop watering them completely, unless they look really thirsty. This one actually is my favorite one. I love this one so much. So this is a Pachypodium rosulatum variety gracilis. This is so beautiful to me, and it photographs so well. It just has interesting proportions, has little stems here, and it just makes for this really, it's almost like, I know it's not bonsai, but it's like bonsai-like because it looks like it has the proportions of a normal sized palm, but it's just so small. So I love this one a lot, and I'll be like totally heartbroken if anything happens to this one. So yeah, just have a lot of patience with these plants because they do grow so slow. Keep an eye on them, don't let them get burned. Only water them when they're developing leaves or have leaves, and then in the winter you can just leave them alone and let them go dormant. But yeah, they're just a great, very captivating plant. I would at least encourage anyone to try growing them. They can be a little picky depending on your climate, but just so much fun. I think I'm going to show you my adeniums next.